Richie, you're fired.
Wait, seriously? But it's Japanese!
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to this week's edition of Houston County News. I'm your friend and local journalist, messenger reporter Greg Ritchie. Shelby Smith is out of town this week, but joining us on the show, we have a special surprise guest, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce you to... No, we're not doing that. We're not going to... No. We're not going to do that. Stop. We're not doing that.
All right, Houston County News, June 28, 2026, take two.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this week's edition of Houston County News. I'm messenger reporter Greg Ritchie, and as always, we're so happy to have you along with us, and we won't see you on the show here before then, so let me wish you all a very, very happy 4th of July, the 250th birthday of this country we love, a country still very much worth fighting and dying for, even with all the problems and issues. I know it seems like we have. Remember, we've always had problems and issues. So has every other country. The only difference now is we can't seem to get along that well about our disagreements. Disagreeing is fine as long as we still remember we're all from the same place and all love each other in the end, or at least I hope we do, and we should. Coming up on today's show, they had a big county commissioner meeting earlier this week. And we've got some video to bring and kind of a breakdown of exactly what went on in that meeting. Some really important things, I think it's fair, were said. Not all things that maybe could have been said were said. We're going to talk about what was said and some of the things that weren't said, if that makes sense. And we're also going to be joined by Kelly Nicol just a minute. He's going to pop by here in a second just to kind of talk about our little podcast here, which we could not do without you. And we're going to go pay a couple bills here, and we're coming back right after this.
Nothing in nature is wasted. Every atom of every living thing is reused again and again. We apply this same circularity to industry, taking materials that would otherwise be wasted and transforming them into hundreds of valuable ingredients that the world depends on daily. The best way to protect nature is to act like nature. At Darling Ingredients, that's exactly what we do.
Folks, if you have some large items piling up around your place, Houston County residents are invited to take part in the July county-wide large item trash drop-off. Residents can use any drop-off location with one trip per household, and all items must be placed in the roll-off carts. The drop-off runs from 8 a.m. to noon on the following Saturdays: July 11th at Pineywood Station in Crockett, July 18th in Precinct 3 in Lovelady, and July 25th at Precinct 4 in Kennard. There are some restrictions: no oil, tires, wet paint, TVs, computers, Freon appliances, hazardous waste, oversized trailers, or contractor loads. Contact the county for more information about the July county-wide large item trash drop-off, helping keep our county clean, one load at a time. Well, folks, it's that time of the year again. 4th of July is here, and this is going to be a big one. 250 years of celebrating this wonderful, wonderful country, place we call home. Lots of festivities going on. Of course, we're going to have the big fireworks show. That generally starts around 9:15, a little bit after sundown. But before you go out to the Crockett Civic Center and Park or there along the Loop, few things to keep in mind. There will be a parade from downtown Crockett all the way down to the Civic Center. Now, lineup for that begins at 6 p.m. at the First Baptist Church there on 8th Street. The actual parade will begin at 7. Now, they're going to go around the Crockett Square and then take 5th Street all the way down to bring all those wonderful floats there into the Civic Center. Something to keep in mind if you're heading towards the Civic Center around that time is, of course, the square is going to be closed during the parade. and all the cross streets and 5th Street itself will be closed as those parade floats make their way down towards the Civic Center. If you're in the parade and you're walking in the parade, not in a vehicle, you will not be allowed to go down 5th Street. You'll stop there at the square and you'll have to load up in some vehicles to make your way down there. Now, there's going to be a lot of traffic, obviously, all around the Civic Center. A lot of folks park out there. A lot of folks park on both sides of the loop to get that good view of the fireworks. Now, just about anywhere around Crockett, you're going to get a good view, so don't panic if you don't get a spot right up close to them. But I'll tell you what, there's all kind of reasons to show up down there long before the fireworks show and bring that cooler, bring that comfy chair, bring some snacks, bring the family, get your red, white, and blue. Come on down there. Michael Dudka Music kicks off at 5:30. Going to be rocking the house down there. Mustang Red, very own Mustang Red, kicks off at 7:30. Of course, there's always local food and all kind of fun stuff down there. So kind of make an evening of it. By that time, the temperatures will be down. Should be nice and cool. Good excuse to get the family out, do a bit of tailgating, and enjoy that fireworks show.
Your Houston County Electric Cooperative is in the final stages of its massive construction project in order to serve our members better. Our entry is now near the HCEC sign, where you'll find our drive-through window. Our new operations room, or safe room, is protected from rain, wind, and even the most violent storms, which is designed to keep our members with power and with the ability to provide warnings and updates. We are your Houston County Electric Co-op, providing power for your way of life.
So, again, I apologize if it seems like I'm harping on about this data center thing, but honestly, folks, this is a really big deal. And it's not just a big deal because of this particular one. It's a big deal because of what this might mean for our future, because there's nothing to say that we're only going to get one. We might get 10 of these things. We got plenty of land for it. 100,000 square foot facility, you can plop a few of those in Houston County and still have room to spare. So I think it's really important that we understand what's going on and understand kind of what our commissioners are going through with something like this. But first of all, now I want to apologize. We had some troubles with our Zoom recording. I was going to go to this meeting, and if you've never been in the commissioners' meeting room, it's not that big, but most importantly, it's packed. It's full of chairs. And of course, I knew how many people were going to be at that meeting. Thank God you all showed up, by the way. And so they said, well, you might want to just watch it on Zoom. I said, fine. So I sat in the office, watched it on Zoom. And then as soon as the Zoom call comes on, I see they're in the room next door with plenty of room. And I thought, But the problem is I didn't record it myself. This is recorded over Zoom. And thanks to Todd McConnell from the county for helping us even get this recording because we had some technical problems. So the quality, let me warn you right now, it ain't good. All right. But you're going to hear what they say, and we're going to be talking about what they're talking about. So as the meeting opened, they got through all their normal business, and then the COO of this Vulture company, I think they call it Volter, I'll let you decide, time maybe will tell, got up and kind of spoke a little bit about what that company's all about.
It's pretty exciting for me. It's nice meeting all you guys. I've never done anything like this, so I'll kind of like ramble and stumble a little bit. Please excuse me. But why we're here, we're looking to build a data center. Why here? Well, there's a good opportunity with some land that's got existing power on it. So what that means for us is the opportunity to build something pretty quickly. We found a construction partner with some guys that started a business. They met out of Texas A&M. They're out of Houston. They innovated a construction technology to build a data center very, very quickly, inside of 9 months. So between the power and the land existing in place today, unutilized, well, partially utilized, there's more infrastructure there that is unutilized. But between that dynamic and the opportunity to build something really fast with this Texas-based construction partner, we're excited about an opportunity to potentially come here to build a data center. So I understand also, though, that there's a lot of kind of conflicting information about what that means for the community. So I'm happy to try to address as much of that as I can today. before I get into some of that stuff a little bit, this is a very, very big investment for me and my company. I'm the co-founder of the business. I met my business partner in college orientation in 1998, hired our friends, playing with technology and building some web hosting servers to help new small businesses put web pages on the internet. That's kind of how it started. We followed trends. Some of our bigger customers are video games, for example. I don't know if anybody's ever played Call of Duty, for example. That's a big customer of ours. Part of that, we deploy locations around the world so that video gamers can play, have video games that have good experience. But the point is that we've met different workloads from our customers and kind of met their needs. That brought us into AI in about 2021 when, it was actually before the ChatGPT moment when we just realized that it was a difficult infrastructure to provide to customers. It's very expensive and hard to do as cloud computing. So we took that challenge on, but the timing was good for us there. And in 2024, December 2024, we did our very first equity fundraising, which for a company that's capital intensive, infrastructure, and over 20 years old at the time, it's kind of crazy to do our Series A so late in the game. But we did it because AI is very, very expensive. At the time in 2024, we raised $333 million to make a bigger bet on AI, and the business was valued at $3.5 billion. This investment that we're making into Crockett County, we're going to be spending about that much money, about $3 billion on the equipment going into this data center. This data center, when you look at it from the road, it's going to look like any other ordinary industrial building that you see today. If it's going to be a manufacturing or, something for farming, that's exactly what it's going to look like, and that's going to be the experience of the community. Just an inconspicuous building minding its business. Maybe some parking spots for the workers to go inside and the technicians and whatnot. But that's about the extent of the impact on the community, other than adding a significant amount of tax revenue because of the value of the assets inside. So on the points that I've heard that people talk about online, I understand there's a lot of, kind of foreign interests that make arguments on both sides, pro data centers, against data centers. The point is to slow down American progress so that China and other nation states can accelerate faster. So I'm happy to address, some of these topics of what I know that can hopefully, mitigate some of the concerns.
Then Commissioner Gene Stokes really got straight into the meat and the heart of this issue, asking about things like water and electricity.
Electricity, how much will y'all use? How will it affect the rates for the citizens of this county?
Yep.
That's things, a lot of our citizens here are on fixed income.
Sure.
And, what we found in Winter Storm Erie is when, the demand goes up like it did, the rates went up quite a bit, and we got a lot of surprises in the mailbox a month later on electric use. Them type of surprises can be catastrophic to some of the citizens here in this county. So, that's who we're here to look out for. And that's one of my questions. And then how much water? What do you, if it's a closed loop system, what do you do with that water once you discharge it? I mean, you can't use it forever.
Well, on the power that you started with, the power cost is one of my biggest operating costs. If that goes up, I'm in trouble also. So that's the last thing that I want. But that said, the power's already there. The power plants are making the power. It's on the grid, and the substation exists today. We're just going to consume it. You think about kind of any type of infrastructure. If you're running something closer to the capacity, the more efficient it gets. You're not spending overhead on transmission capacity or other infrastructure that's not getting used. So the fact that we're actually beginning to pay for power that's already there should actually be a benefit to everybody to help kind of offset costs and not drive them up. And we're not actually looking to build anything new whatsoever from the power transmission perspective. It's about 96 megawatts of total power that we're looking to consume in this site, which, from the AI data center perspective, is not actually that big. Our competitors, trillion-dollar companies that are publicly traded, Google, Amazon, they build the gigawatt data centers. Those have a much, much bigger impact on what happens in the kind of dynamic of the power landscape. But those are the big guys, and I can't play in that game. And those guys also would come here and build a 250,000 square foot data center, and they'd automatically get 100% tax abatements, and they wouldn't contribute any tax because they're just so big that they qualify for that stuff. The data center we're building, we will be paying tax. We're not building at that size, and we don't intend to either. From a water perspective, you mentioned closed loop. That's exactly right. There's some places in the world and in the country where evaporative cooling makes sense, depending on the climate. And that's where kind of the negative connotation about water comes in. Such you're just spreading water across and it's evaporating, taking it away. So you're just wasting water. That's not what this is. This is a closed loop system. Fill it up once. How much does it take to fill it up? It takes about the same amount of water up a 50-acre farm in one day. That's how much water it takes to fill up.
Is that farm irrigating?
Just a hay farm, just a typical hay farm for the water consumption. The point is, it's only, maybe 250,000 gallons or so that you fill up one time to essentially charge the system. And it's a closed loop system. The water just carries heat from over here to over there and back again, and it just circulates. And also, water quality. This is highly sensitive equipment. Water quality is really, really important. So we, inspect and make sure, and actually water purity is pretty important. So if there ever is a situation where we have to shut the system down, flush the system, and replenish it, the water going out, it's not chemicals in any way, shape, or form. It's actually some of the most pure water that you can find anywhere. And then we put that back in. I've never seen that happen, but that's the way it goes. We'll just charge it up once, and it'll stay in there.
Are your intentions to buy water, or are you going to drill a well? Or
That's a good question. I think we're going to use just city water. There's going to be, bathrooms for the workers there. So it's just typical domestic water. And since it's such a relatively small amount of water to fill the system up initially, that should be sufficient.
So that water is never discharged
That's correct.
one time, and the life of the
Yeah.
data center, that water would continue to
That's
stay
it.
in that loop.
Yeah, just a sealed, closed loop system. Yeah.
Now, Commissioner Willie Kitchen came out and said, so where exactly is this going to be and what's there now? And as we've talked about on this show, right now it's a data mine center, and it's basically some open sort of shipping containers in a little field, and they've got these massive fans, and it's loud. And let's hear a little back and forth on where exactly this is going to be and what it's going to look like and what it's supposed to turn out as.
What is the current site being used for? And some of the people don't know where it is. What is it being used for? Now, I can answer that because it's in precinct 2, but you go ahead, and if I need to fill in some gaps there, go ahead. The current location, where is it at and what's it doing?
Yeah, so it is in precinct 2. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it in a way that would make everybody understand precisely, but it is being utilized in part by a crypto mining site now. That's basically it's a data center today, actually. It's just a purpose-built data center. It's for the sake of extracting and creating Bitcoin. So they just, they put power in, run this process, and get cryptocurrency on the outside. For that technology, they're using the air-cooled stuff. Now, I promise you, if that was across the street, you would hear it. You're like, that is noisy. So that will all be coming out, redevelop the property into like a more traditional building that would have, finished parking lot and a structure on the outside. It will just look like any industrial warehouse or office space from the outside when we're done with it.
What about power usage comparison?
Yeah, what's there today is using, I think it's about 24 megawatts. So it's not all of what we're looking to use, but whether it be additional, so that difference, it's already at the substation. There's a substation right adjacent to it, and the substation can fully support the full load that we're looking to take today. Actually, that's what we looked at. We said, hey, what's available? Like, okay, 96 megawatts, that's perfect. We'll just build up to that amount. So that way we don't have to go ahead and stress the grid and try to do some big utility build out and take on the costs thereof.
Now, as we brought up here, some of the issues we've talked about are who exactly are their end customers? Who are their investors? Are these foreign investors? The COO talked a little bit about that, and then again, Commissioner Stokes came in. There had been some allegations about some censorship on behalf of the Communist Party of China, essentially. And let's watch real quick how that went down.
When we get into that censorship deal, and which data's great and AI is great, but I think a lot of folks was harmed by that, and I think a lot of people, some of my constituents have talked to me about that, and like I said, y'all's name comes up into some censorship issues and with China. So I asked a question that that I'm not sure that I've got an answer I like out of that deal yet, but we know it's here. But I see every day that through social media, how when different folks are in power, different types of censorship unfold, and I don't know exactly how much y'all have to do with it, but I know AI makes it relatively faster, and them algorithms travel or work their magic, and there's no denying it. So,
well, I can expand a little bit on it. I mean, when, we're running the business and considering these issues, my guiding principles are just around harm to people. If somebody's making threats against somebody, that's a threat to life issue, something like that, that's a problem. Work with law enforcement and whatnot to help, find whoever's doing something like that. Also, just navigating the law, right? We follow the law. We're not going to break the law. Period. Full stop. So if there's a copyright infringement or trademark infringement, that's actually what was happening in that WeChat example. It wasn't censorship. It was the commercial business was said, hey, you're stealing our data and publishing. Now the person that was publishing it said, we're here to defy censorship, but the company that owned the data said you're stealing our data and publishing it for free. So there's this kind of double narrative type of thing. At the end of the day, we decided to terminate the customer that was publishing the stolen information because we chose to follow the law in that situation.
It was Judge Lovell again that asked specifically how many jobs are going to be created here. And I don't know if we have the footage this morning, but the COO basically went on to say probably most of these jobs would not be generated here locally. Let's watch.
How many full-time jobs, and what's the range of salary?
Yeah. So we put on the information here about 15 to 20 jobs. These are going to be, just think about the assets that these jobs are maintaining, right? We got $3 billion of assets to maintain, okay? That's actually a pretty low number of jobs to do maintenance and support on such extremely expensive assets. So it will probably even be higher employee count than that. And these folks have to get trained. Their jobs are very valuable in this AI ecosystem because a lot of folks are doing what I'm doing. And these jobs, once they have these skills, they're very, very valuable. So they've got to reward them appropriately. So these are definitely going to be six-figure jobs.
Now, I want you to try and pay close attention to this. I don't want to get too far in the weeds, but the other gentleman, the representative from that company, came along and talked about some of the specific numbers. But there's some numbers missing, but we'll come back to that in a second. Let's watch this part first.
So the tax impact. I work with Walter just to try to understand the tax impact of this project to Houston County. So a lot of jurisdictions are going to benefit tax-wise from this project, but specific to Houston County, with the Commissioner's Court support, we anticipate or estimate 15 million of local county sales tax as a result of this project. So essentially, Volter is installing property, they're purchasing property and installing it. There's a local sales tax of 0.5% that will essentially be generated from this project. Additionally, there's property tax, and we estimate over a 10-year period, again with the support of the community, about $10 million of property tax revenue from this project. So just specific to, again, Houston County, you have the county sales tax of $15 million, and then annually, on average, about $1 million in property tax. But then we also have, the Crockett ISD, and we can get into these numbers, Houston County INS, the Emergency Service District. In total, we anticipate about $170 million of tax revenue from this project over a 10-year period. again, Alter is considering this Houston County for this project. I think one of the things that they're looking for is partnership with the county, and in one of those ways is with a property tax abatement. So property tax abatement would be for 10 years, which is a typical length of the property tax abatement. And it would basically cover roughly about $40 million of property tax over that 10-year period. Again, from Houston County's perspective, they would be receiving up to $15 million in local sales tax revenue, and that would be in year one or at worst year two of the project. And then additionally, the $10 million in property taxes. You have, the Emergency Services District, $9+ million in property taxes that would be received. Houston County Hospital District, $15 million plus in property tax. So the company is looking again for a little support to ensure that this project's costs are feasible. And that's why we're really having this meeting today.
So there were a lot of big numbers talked about there, but it kind of goes back and forth. It's kind of hard to follow. Now, one of our confidential sources, even before this meeting, had sent us an Excel file of some of the numbers that this company had ran in order to kind of show the benefit to Houston County. I'm not going to share that document with you just yet, and the reason is it's so different than what was talked about at the meeting that I'm not sure what happened. Did things change in the meantime? Was this document... anyway, it has nothing to do with the numbers we just saw there. And I don't want to get anybody else worried other than me until next week and I'm able to confirm this document or get a new document that I can share with you. There's 248 data centers in progress right now in the state of Texas, okay? That's in the state of Texas, not across the country. And you talk about abatements, and they talked about state sales tax. Well, this is classified as a smaller operation, a smaller data center. So around 20 employees, around 100,000 square feet. Most of the time, the state, for 10 years, will abate, or they don't have to pay, their state sales tax. Here's the thing with Texas. Texas is so happy to have data centers right now. Listen to this. If you're a big data center, which is a minimum of 200,000 square feet and 40 employees, the state will even let you not pay the local sales tax. That's how much the state of Texas is telling data centers, bring it on in, boys, and come on down. Think about that. So this company, if they would just be twice as big, none of the numbers they mention there would ever come about because the state of Texas would tell them, no, that's okay. You don't have to pay anything to these guys because you're a big player. This goes against, I think, a lot of public sentiment. Now, there are a few things that the governor is trying to do, and I say trying because these aren't moratoriums, these aren't hard laws, these aren't, these are basically guidelines and suggestions to some of the state groups. Let me give you a couple of them right here. On the 10th of this month, Abbott told the Public Utility Commission of Texas, ERCOT, to take immediate steps to protect residential ratepayers from data center-related infrastructure costs. He said these data centers shouldn't raise residential electric bills or drain community water supplies. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Here's some questions that I still have, and I'm sure our commissioners are going to have to bring these issues up as time goes on. They say they only need 250,000 gallons. Well, only is relative. That's a lot of water. Now, you say, well, wait a minute, Greg, if that's all they need from now until forever over the life of the project, that's nothing. And that's true. How they take that water is important because if they take it all in one day, or if they say, okay, we're going to take 2 weeks to fill the system with these two, how that's structured could have a big impact on our water here. Here's the other thing. The substation that's located right across the road from this proposed place has a capacity of 96 megawatts. Now, I think you need 1.22 megawatts to go through time. So that's no. I think those were gigawatts, weren't they? I think those were gigawatts. And this company said, hey, we're not going to surpass that. We built our data center to use exactly that. You say, great. Here's the problem. And maybe this is a dumb question, and we're going to talk to our county co-op officials next week and really hash this out. Why is that substation there? And what I mean by that is, if that substation is already there, I assume somebody is using it, right? So if they fill it up, the people using that substation now, what happens to them? Do they get sent down the line a different place? Or in other words, like it or not, this is going to affect all of our grid. Does that mean our prices go up? It doesn't seem like it from, what I'm trying to study and figure out and all the rest of it. But it's certainly a question that we need to ask. If you're going to fill up that substation, do we need to build another substation for what that substation was doing? If that kind of makes sense to you. Because Governor Abbott says he wants data centers to pay for any electric infrastructure. His directive says that the Public Utility Commission should require them to fund electrical infrastructure needed to serve them. Again, that's not clear in this case because, quote unquote, the way they presented it is, hey, we don't need any electrical infrastructure. It's already there, so we're all good. I'm afraid, though, that might not be the case, and that's going to be some of the questions that are going to continue to come up. Now, Abbott did call for new rules on reporting things like noise, water, any kind of other setbacks. He also said, hey, we should roll back some of these data center tax incentives. He said he wants to work with the legislature to repeal some of the sales tax exemptions and other unnecessary incentives for data centers. Maybe the governor has finally heard that these are not overly popular, and he's trying to claw some of that back. Now, this last bit I want to talk about is it's not exactly speculation, but it's where the important thing lies. So they said, this could be up to $15 million a year in sales tax revenue. And you say, wow, that's amazing. Now, what is sales tax revenue? That's when they sell to their customers. It could be up to $15 million, but it could be much lower. Why? Well, first of all, maybe they don't reach their sales goals, which companies struggle with from time to time. Data centers seem pretty popular, so I'm going to assume that they might already even have a customer lined up before they even, crack ground there over there. Okay, fine. A lot of these data centers are used by government entities. Could be IRS, CIA. All these people need, lots of data, and those don't incur sales tax. So I'm not sure exactly how that number can be sort of lined up. Then they want, I believe it's, something like 75%, 90%. There are different proposals about what the abatement should be in property tax. Here's my take on that. This one property, this 100,000 square feet, would almost quadruple the wealth or that's not a good way to say it, the property value of Houston County, right? You add everything else up, and it comes to about a third or so of what this thing is going to be worth. It's a pretty amazing, dominating number. So the question commissioners are going to have to ask themselves is, if we give them this abatement, what do we get for it? Do we get jobs? Do we get infrastructure? We get the sales tax money, which is going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure Crockett School or any of the other schools would be happy with a few extra $1 million rolling in the door every week. And man, we would just have county roads paved with gold around here. It would be amazing. There's no question about it. And I think back to, when Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, nobody sat around worrying about the candlestick makers. They said, hey, you better put some lavender in those and make them for a bathtub or something else because we don't need candles anymore. Now, I live in a house here near downtown. It's 100 years old, over 100 years old, built in like 1915. And I was sitting on the porch the other day, and running right along my street there are telephone wires, electrical wires, cable TV wires, internet wires, yeah, full of wires. And I thought about the man who built my home all those years ago, maybe at some point watching some of those wires go up. Was he upset? Man, look at our town now. We look like we live on Mars. We're a bunch of robots. There's cables and wires everywhere. Was he happy about it? Hey, honey, we're finally going to get electric light. The point is, this is just what happens. And when you live in a country like America, you have to understand, 100 years ago, 120 years ago, man was not able to fly. We can get you from here to London in 8 hours now. So we have to, on some level, accept that things are going to progress. Things are going to move on. The AI is the new thing in the world. I don't know how that's going to work out. I don't know if that's going to be good for our civilization to have kids in the future, not know how to, look at a watch. They just ask AI what time it is or whatever. Again, I won't get into that part because every generation thinks the ones coming after them are pretty dull, don't they? We all did. Even some of you folks a little bit older out there, you spend all your time, you waste all your time with your kids drinking soda pop and listen to Elvis records. Every generation comes along. That's fine. The question here is not whether a data center is good or bad. I think the first question is they're coming to Houston County, whether we like it or not. Like that's it. I think they absolutely understand that they threw out some big numbers, I think, and they were impressive. But the real number is what we're not getting if they do come, the property tax. That's the real number, and I don't have that number. I've asked a few people around. I called the appraisal district. We're trying to find what that number could be. And that's the question. So in other words, okay, if you're going to come here and we don't get a lot of local jobs, we're going to have to maybe improve local roads, put some fire extinguisher hydrants and things along there, reroute this, do the power. We got to make sure the water's good for that first draw. And let's say everything else is true, everything else is fine, there's no other problems. What do we get for the 15, 18, 20 million dollars that we're not getting by not making them pay the property tax? And I assume that's the question that commissioners are going to be asking themselves. And boy, I sure don't have an answer.
It seems like just about everybody makes a burger these days. Huh, if you can call them burgers. At Davy Crockett Grill, we make Davies. Single, double, the full pound Mr. Crockett, even a ribeye Davy. In fact, we cook up more goodness on a bun than anyone around. 'Cause at Davy Crockett Grill, these Davies are just the first bite of comfort you can taste. Davy Crockett Grill, where summer gets tasty.
Well, folks, we wanted to bring you, I guess maybe a first-time guest on the podcast, but certainly somebody that plays a big role behind the scenes in a lot of things we do. And that's my friend and my boss, Mr. Kelly Nicol. How you doing?
Doing great.
Well, thanks for coming by this morning. I wanted us to talk for a minute because it occurred to me the other day, we've been doing this show since like October of last year, quite a while. And even though we've always kind of had the idea and the concept, we've never really talked about it and told people kind of how this all works. So I guess we can kind of break this down however you'd like to break it down. But where do you see these different pieces of the media and information we put out as kind of fitting together? How do you see these different information kind of feeding together?
Okay, I think the podcast is a pivotal part of our organization. I think that we have the newspaper that gives the facts of a matter, and we print those in the newspaper, and people read them and kind of get the story. And then the podcast is also for adding the kind of the backstory.
Well, yeah, I think that's exactly right. So, a lot of times on social media, you'll see a headline, and this happened or that happened. Sometimes it turns out not to be true. In fact, you were telling me about the one headline that you didn't even believe for a while, right?
Right. You look at the Chuck Norris, and he I don't know how many times he died on social media, but
Yeah.
I didn't believe it for 4 or 5 days.
And when he actually died,
right.
It's the boy who cried wolf. My father has called me a few times and said, "Oh man, I hear Dirty Harry passed." I'm like, what? Clint Eastwood died? And I look and I go, "Dad, no, you know." But we try and put, when we can, breaking news on social media. Hey, this road is shut down. Hey, there's a fire, or that kind of stuff. Rain warnings or flash flood warnings, those kind of things. The newspaper is really when we get the chance a couple days later to go, okay, here's what actually happened, right? We've had some time now to look into it. Here's kind of the fuller story. Isn't that kind of what your vision is?
And I think that everybody has their preference. That's why they have vanilla and chocolate, because not everybody likes vanilla.
That's right.
If they want to read the paper, that's great. We just want to give one more avenue to get the news out to our listeners or our readers.
That's right. Yeah. Our podcast, folks, has always been the idea that, so here's the breaking news on social media. Here's kind of the full story. Then the podcast kind of tries to bring people on from kind of behind the scenes. And, a lot of people out there have read about a county judge or a mayor or a superintendent or whatever in the county, have no idea, maybe even what they look like, or have never actually seen them in person or heard their voice. And the idea of the podcast is just like this. We could have written this in the newspaper today, but I wanted people to see you and hear you and kind of get that third dimension to people. And, when I think back, we've actually had quite a few guests. I mean, we've had sheriffs and superintendents and the county judge. We've had a lot of folks come on the show.
We have. I'm very proud of it.
Well, I think so. Is there, other than my face, is there anything you could think of that you would improve on the show?
I think we're going to add some new things in the future. I think we need to do that. I think we need to look into sports. I think we need to look into maybe some outdoor shows, or maybe some agriculturally related. That's obviously the biggest industry in our county is agriculture, and we need to add some things like that to it.
Well, the main thing between us and like a big multinational media, conglomerate that owns 1,000 TV stations is on most of the stuff, we don't really have a dog in the fight other than we love this place.
Right.
We've chosen to live here. In your case, grew up here, obviously, but in my case, I every day I go, I'm so happy I live in Houston County. This is where I want to be. And so, our only dog in the fight is doing what's sort of best for the people.
Well, I think that is that was the original goal when my wife and I decided to buy the newspaper and raise our kids here. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make Houston County the best place it could be, and to be a cheerleader for the county. And sometimes we're not a cheerleader, but I think the things that we do and say are always directed towards making the county better.
The intentions are there.
Right.
Well, and we've caught some flack.
Sure.
For different stories we've run or had to run. The only part that makes me sleep well at night is that I can't think of anything we have ever put in that paper, especially controversial stuff that you and I haven't talked over, looked over, going back to the source. Are we sure they said, let's do that recording again. Let's make sure.
Right.
And it's not nice when there's a tragedy.
No.
It's not nice when, there's allegations of corruption or an investigation begins or there's a scandal or I hated every minute of something like CEIDC back in the day.
Right.
But how could we call ourselves any journalists or people that supposedly care about this community and not say, sorry, guys, but this is what we found.
Right. We're out here to protect everyone's interest. We have to get the news out. And if there's something that's unpleasant, I don't want to put it out either, but it's important that everybody knows.
Yeah, well, we can't, you can't hide the sun with one finger. I mean, you have to let it come out. Well, that's very good. And we do have some new ideas coming up. Now, folks, you can support the show right now by becoming a sponsor. And we'll put the little email and some contact information. Let us know about that. We're so grateful. We've got some awesome sponsors.
Absolutely.
And we've got a couple more coming, and maybe some interesting, funny, crazy little ideas for commercials. And folks, we've also started a 501c3 nonprofit organization. If you like the show, you want to chip in to help, we're also working on developing talents among local youth. We want to organize some instruments, some singing, some dancing, all kind of things to help our youth do better. And I appreciate it. My weeks fill up pretty quick now. between two newspapers and the podcast, it's pretty quick. I close my eyes for 10 minutes and I go, it's time to get up again. But man, it's been fun. And we've got this beautiful studio that we work out of, and we've had so many good guests. Now, you've seen, if not all, a majority of all the podcasts. Is there a joke that we did that you thought was your favorite, or one you thought stood out? Maybe it was the worst one, the corniest one, the best one, the one that made you laugh unexpectedly, the one that made you say, "Oh God, I have nothing to do with that show. Please take my name off."
Well, of course, I like the one, the Dukes of Hazzard with Officer Ho.
Right.
And
who we ran into earlier this morning.
Right.
Yeah,
like
good
that
guy.
one. And I like the one where you were sitting out in front of maybe it was during a festival or
Christmas
something
in Crockett, probably.
and somebody came by and you put the quarter in your cup. That was
My
good.
coffee cup.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that. We try to keep it light, and because some of this stuff does get dense, and you're talking to law enforcement about shootings and things, and I don't know. I feel like it's
right.
We got to keep it a little light. Well, Kelly, we appreciate you coming by. This means a lot to me. Do you think we're on track for what at least your vision was of where this podcast should go, or do you see us doing something better, expanding? Is there anything?
I think we'll expand. I think we're on track, and a good track. We've gone through some time that we were trying to figure things out,
right?
And always bouncing new ideas off of each other. I think things are going to get better and better.
Well, before we let you go, my only recommendation on that, I think that really the podcast should have some kind of a sports car.
Yeah.
And I would drive it around town and sort of promote the show. So
I'd wrap it.
Well, yeah, something, on the back, small, because, I want to look good. But I'll leave that with you, Lamborghini. Look, you know more about that stuff than I do.
Yeah, it's nice.
So anything like that. Anyway, all goofing aside, thanks for coming by.
Thank you.